This is the history of Northcross. We would like to acknowledge Richard Hemmingson, John Robinson, Campbell Fountain, Joe Warner, Sandy Buteau, and the late Mrs. Jean Hendry for all their hard work in collating and capturing the rich tapestry of our community story. Today, we celebrate the 30th anniversary of Northcross Church as we've come to know it since 1993, but our history doesn't start there. It all begins in 1942 with a woman named Polly Everett, who had been running a Sunday school in her home since the 1930s. At the time, Browns Bay was a holiday resort, and a number of believers had been meeting on Sundays while on holiday. They then started to congregate regularly at Mrs. Everett's home for a communion service, thus helping the area earn the nickname Brethren Bay. As time went on, the group slowly grew. Through the donation of land from Herbert Thatcher and the rally of volunteer builders, the group was able to meet at a property on Anzac Road under the name of Browns Bay Gospel Chapel. Despite its humble beginnings as a rural church built in the war years, the church would continue to grow over the next 50 years.
The vision and purpose of the church at that point was to move back into residential areas and connect with communities and families. The fact that the church had been zoned commercial trading was not permitted. This meant the church had no interaction with the community because it was out of step. The bookshop, however, could change that, and it could open for 6 days and the church on Sunday, which gave us access to the community for 7 days. On many occasions, people from the community came into the shop to seek counselling, and the shop manager often had to call an elder to attend and meet with them in person.
Fast forward to 1986, there started to be talk about potentially selling the property as the site had limited development potential and the buildings were in need of constant upkeep. The area had also risen in value, making it desirable to numerous investors, including Foodtown, now known as Countdown under Woolworths. In 1989, the decision was made to sell the property in favour of a 12-acre piece of land on East Coast Road.
About that time, I invited Archie Elliott, who was the chairman then of Edenvale Trust, and we leaned on the Taranaki gate and I asked him the question, could you visualise a church here, Archie? He said, I sure can. This building was a large project in itself, and much of the landscaping work was done by volunteers. The boundary fencing, for an example, was constructed by Bob Jackson, Bob Barrett, and Bob Rope. I think it still stands today.
However, the new property wouldn't be ready until 4 years later, meaning that the congregation had to meet at Northcross Intermediate School in the meantime. Construction on the new property started in 1992, and finally, in 1993, the church on East Coast Road was finished and given the name of Northcross Community Church. Fast forward to 2008, an important event happened in the Northcross story. Northcross Church was about to become pastorless, as Malcolm Barrow, the pastor at the time, was nearing retirement. A few kilometres away from Northcross was East Coast Bay's Bible Baptist Church. It had a rapidly growing congregation and their current building was barely adequate to meet their needs. Both churches already had a relationship with a back and forth sharing of preachers and a combined youth community. East Coast Bay's Bible Baptist's pastor, Andrew Neville, had been sensing the Lord had some new ventures ahead for him to consider. So when the initial offer to discuss a possible merger arrived from the Northcross elders, it was enthusiastically accepted. Both congregations were told at the end of the service in April of 2008 that the elderships were meeting for talks regarding a possible merger. After much discussion, the pastor, elders, and around 80 members of East Coast Bay's Bible Baptist joined the Northcross congregation in November 2008, and the church would, after an interim name of New Beginnings, come to be known as Northcross, your community church, with Andrew Neville as senior pastor.
I don't think there's been a period this church has existed that there hasn't been a building committee, because we started in someone's house as a Sunday school class, and there's been a building committee since the 40s. So we're just standing on the shoulders of people who have gone before us. That's all we're doing. We also started a building fund back in 2011 just to kick things off, so people could start putting in regular amounts. I went around and I took pictures of everything that was happening on a Sunday morning, and I put that up there as part of, hey, we need to move, we need to do something. And I counted, there was 450 people using the church on a Sunday morning, and they were packed into the auditorium, which is where the babies now are, and all sorts of rooms around the church, down on the pad and every other room available. So I said, hey, we're bursting at the seams. We've got to do something about it. We should mention that we would never have got off the ground without the backing of the Northcross Trust, which gave us a pledge of money to be able to start this project.
Things that had to come together was desire from everybody at Northcross that the building needed to happen. The other things that had to happen was the funding. There was some property sold in order to provide funds for the building project.
I think I was there in the room when they opened the what we got for the land, and we fell off our seats because it was well over what we expected to get. So going from maybe we could add this to the building fund, it's sort of like, hey, let's go now.
Just want to give a shout out to the building committee and various other people involved too. Cam and I here sitting today really as representatives of much wider groups. I'd like to just mention some of the things that were done by Northcross people for this project: civil works design, electrical and lighting design, the kitchen equipment specification and how that kitchen was going to operate, the timber deck that flows out from the foyer to the children's play area, interior design for the cafe
and the foyer,
selection of furnishings. Yeah, so not only those activities, but there was a number of things that people earmarked and donated to the project. It wasn't just about the building. At the end of the day, I think that everybody involved with the project is really proud of it. What I'd like to emphasise about this building project was how everything came together at the right time with the right people, and certainly it was not our timing, it was God's timing.
The new auditorium was opened in 2015, and Northcross held a Thanksgiving and celebration service in honour of this event. The following is a snippet of Pastor Andrew's speech on that day.
This is a big day for Northcross Church. This was a huge project and one that could have required a sizable mortgage. But thanks to God's blessing and the passionate support of many, we don't owe a cent. Our thanks also goes out to those who contributed to the construction of the new facilities, whether they were involved in designing, building, financing, praying, or moral support. It's a bonus that both past and present members of Northcross Church can come together to give praise and worship to our God and Saviour, the ultimate church builder. Thank you for your history in this place. Those of us who presently call Northcross home have continued to build on what has gone before, earnestly seeking to be good stewards of the assets entrusted to us. To God be the glory.
Then the unpredictable happened.
Coronavirus.
The coronavirus. COVID-19.
All churches around the world weren't allowed to meet in person due to the restrictions. Out of this came an important reminder that had been so often overlooked, that the church was about the people, not the building. And so Northcross, just like many other churches, learned to adapt to this. We started our online services and found ways to continue fellowshipping online. As the Lord does, many good things came out of this, including a dedicated young adults ministry. It was refreshing to see that, despite the hurdles that were thrown our way, Northcross continued to be a church that aimed to exalt God, equip believers, and engage with the community, even when it seemed impossible to do so. As we celebrate the 30th anniversary of Northcross as a church, let us remember that our history didn't begin with this milestone. From its humble beginnings in Browns Bay, our church has weathered the tides of change, emerging stronger and more vibrant than ever. Our journey is a testament to the dedication, vision, and faith of those who came before us. As we celebrate our past, we also look ahead to the future, knowing that the story of Northcross continues with unwavering commitment and an enduring sense of community. As Psalm 78 verses 4-7 says, "We will not hide them from their descendants. We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, his power and the wonders he has done. He decreed statutes for Jacob and established the law in Israel, which he commanded our ancestors to teach their children, so the next generation would know them, even the children yet to be born, and they, in turn, would tell their children. Then they would put their trust in God and would not forget his deeds, but would keep his commands."